We're going to look at two different example problems on how to use dimensional analysis, also known as the factor label method, to convert between units. For simple one-step problems, you might be able to do this in your head, but it's a good idea to learn a method that will work even when the numbers in the problems get a little bit more difficult. So that's why we're going to learn this factor label method. So for every problem, the first step is going to be to figure out what unit conversion that you want to use, what relationship. So when I read this problem, I want to express 62 inches in units of centimeters. So I'm going to circle here what I know is 62 inches. What I want to find out is the number of centimeters that that's equal to. So I've already put here the conversion factor that you're going to need, but in a problem where it's not given to you, the first thing that you want to do is look at your list of conversion factors, which you already have, and you want to find one that relates those two units to one another. So in this case, there are 2.54 centimeters for every 1 inch. And I'm going to have you every time write that conversion factor as a for every statement to just reinforce what it means. Then you're going to set up your problem. You always want to start the problem with what you know, and then you're going to multiply it by some factor that changes it, that adjusts it based on the relationship between the unit you're starting in and the unit that you want to get up into. So we know what we're starting with is that there are 62 inches. And then we're going to multiply that by our adjustment. A neat thing about factor label method, why chemistry teachers use it, is that you can figure out whether you need to multiply or divide really easily. You always want to put the units that you're trying to get rid of, in this case inches, in the denominator. That way, this inch and this inch will cancel each other out because one's in the numerator, one's in the denominator. And you put the unit you're trying to get to, in this case centimeters, in the top, because that's what will be left unit-wise at the end of the day. Then we're going to put in our numbers from our conversion factor. If you look up here, 2.54 goes with the label centimeter, so I'm going to write the 2.54 with the label centimeter in the problem. And in our unit conversion, 1 inch goes with the label inch, so I'm going to put the 1 with the label inch in my problem. Then I do the math. I'm going to check inches and inches cancel out, and I'm left with units of centimeters. And then you literally do what it says to do. So 62 times 2.54 divided by 1. Everything that's in the numerator you multiply, everything that's in the denominator you divide. And so I got 157.48. Now, we've just learned significant figures. They're going to apply to every one of these problems. There are 2 significant figures in the given in my problem, so my answer needs to be rounded so that it also has 2 significant figures. So I'm going to round to the tens place. The 7 tells the 5 to round up. Therefore, this will round up to 160. I also always want to label my answer with a unit, so centimeters. And I will also ask you to write your answer as a for every statement. So in this case, the 160 centimeters really means that there are 162 centimeters in every 62 inches. Moving on to our second example. And this example is going to use the metric prefixes, and I've provided on your unit conversion sheet all the metric prefixes that you can use. Again, you want to identify, and I find it helpful to always underline what I know and circle what I'm trying to get to kind of just make those things pop out to me in the problem. Then I identify the unit conversion that I need to use, and according to my unit conversion sheet, there are 1,000 or 10 to the third grams in every 1 kilogram. Again, I'll write it as a sentence, but also I'll write it as you'll see it on the paper. Now that we know how we're going to get from our starting point to our answer, I'll set up the problem, starting with what's given in the problem, 780 kilograms, and then I'm going to multiply by my conversion factor as a fraction, again putting the units I want to get rid of in the bottom and the units I'm trying to get to in the top, making sure that my numbers match up with their labels. So the number 1,000 goes with the label gram, and the number 1 goes with the label kilogram. If I've done this right, my kilogram units cancel out. My gram units are what I'm left with, which is what I want to see. And then I multiply and divide as needed. 780 times 1,000 divided by 1. So multiply everything in the numerator, divide everything in the denominator. And you get 780,000 grams. And finally, check that you have the right number of significant figures. There are 2 significant figures in the number 780, and there are 2 significant figures in 780,000 grams. To express this as a for every statement, so what my answer really means is that in 780 kilograms, there are 780,000 grams. So those are 2 simple examples. We'll try in class some examples that sometimes involve 2 steps, but that's at least a little bit to get you going.